This is Falln, and I'm here to do a tournament recap of Get On My Level 2018. This event was touted as one of the most important events of the season, and naturally there comes a lot of expectations with how the rankings are going to play out. We get to see if Nairo can catch up to Leo in the race for first, and it's also an opportunity for players who have been under the radar for a bit to really, make a name for themselves for this season. And also, it's an opportunity for local Canadian talent to show what they're made of and see if they can get any upsets. Get On My Level also promises to be Canada's, premier major tournament. There's a lot of expectations on the actual, tournament experience to be worthwhile for, just the average player and average spectator. So if we start with the venue, the actual Get On My Level venue was close to perfect. It was like this huge convention center. There was a lot of room. It accommodated all the games just fine. If you wanted to watch an off-stream match, you could do it without bumping into people. If you were playing, you weren't like squished next to people like sardines. There was a lot of room for watching matches on stage. The stage was big enough to hold multiple streams at the same time. You were never bumping into anyone, and there was an absurd amount of friendly setups. You could easily play Smash the entire weekend and never even have to sit in a rotation larger than 4 people. For anyone who was there, you definitely could have gotten your fair share of Smash. Also, the location itself, it had this big parking lot, so anyone coming in would be able to park for free, no problem there. And it was walking distance from the airport, which is amazing for anyone traveling in, walking distance from the hotels. The only strike I could give the venue is that the food nearby didn't have a lot of great options. Unless you like shawarma. There's a lot of shawarma in Ontario. But there's also like a Tim Hortons and a Wendy's and a Subway nearby, so if you're looking for like cheap fast food, you can get it. So really it's not the biggest deal about the food, but everything else was phenomenal. The event itself was also run fairly well. There were side events on the first day with low tier singles, and they also had that big Canadian crew battle. As a non-Canadian, it probably wouldn't matter that much to you how it plays out, but there was a lot of regional pride on the line there, especially when it came down to East Canada versus West Canada. And there was like really good gameplay in the crew battle as well, so if you're just watching for good Smash, you definitely got it. The East side had Mistake and Ally and Supergirl Kells. But on the west side, you have Locust, Big D, and Captain L, who's been doing really well lately. The East Coast ends up taking it, but it was really fun to watch, and you could tell from the crowd that they were really getting into it. And definitely, since it was being held in East Canada, I'm sure most of the people there were happy about the result. The schedule was fine. You'd go in Saturday morning to play doubles or to play singles if you didn't enter, and if you did enter doubles, then you'd be playing later on. And then Phase 2 would be in the evening, and then Phase 3 would be the next day. And all of that ran on time, so no problems there. I just showed up to my pool at 8:15, and I played my 2 hours, and then I was out of there. Speaking of which, all the pool setups, or actually all the setups in general, had game audio. They had little speakers, and that is so nice. I cannot understate this as a player, how important it is to be able to hear the audio and not have to worry about bringing your own headphone with a splitter so the other guy could listen to his headphones. I think if you are a major tournament, I think it is important that if you want to be known as a premier Smash event, that you provide audio on all your setups. No excuses. So I'm very happy that Get On My Level had that. Big props to them. For the viewer, there were criticisms of how the Smash 4 matches were chosen for the stream. There were a few early round Phase 2 matches that didn't make it on stream that people thought was questionable. Because, Phase 2 is where we really started to see good players go at it. So, for example, I played Kimura Kiri off stream for Phase 2. I don't mind playing off stream, and I understand if people, take the Rosalina and, toss them to the side. Like, I'm not offended by it. But then I heard, like, Fatality versus Gluttony was held off stream, while losers matches were being played on stream between lesser known players, and that has to be an oversight because, like, on one hand you have Fatality, who's playing Captain Falcon, the poster boy of Smash, essentially. Everyone in chat or all the viewers, they love anything Falcon does. And on the other hand, you have Gluttony, who's the low tier hero from Europe. Like, this is a player who doesn't get a lot of exposure. It's going to be a match that's probably going to be at a fast pace just because Captain Falcon normally, goes in or dies gloriously, and that was missed in favor of losers matches. So I can definitely see where the criticisms are coming from there. Obviously, as the Phase 2 starts to thin out, eventually everything was put on stream, so like the final bracket matches, that's not really an issue, but it did strike to me as odd that they would miss some of those big matches in favor of losers brackets. Also, as a player, I appreciated that everything in Phase 2, winner side, was guaranteed 3 out of 5. So as long as you were guaranteed 33rd or better, every set would be a 3 out of 5, which I think is huge for Smash 4. So it's really great when tournaments can accommodate that early. And also, Saturday ended once you got into top 24. And then all of Sunday was for top 24 and top 8, which is very nice as a player, being able to rest and study up and get prepared for the next day. A lot of tournaments will either have one day be like just the super free pools and then you do everything on the last day, or sometimes you do everything up till top 8 and then you've been playing really late into the night and then you might have to get up early for top 8. So I'm happy about how that was spread out for Smash 4. And I think Melee was the same thing, so I'm just happy how it was spread out in general. As far as the bracket itself played out, we did end up having a few DQs from Void, Mr. R, and Cosmos, which, to be completely honest, it does hollow out the results a little bit. It reminds you of Genesis 5 when we had all those dropouts, so it leaves people wondering, like, how much did GOML really matter? Because it was supposed to be bigger than Genesis going in, but now people aren't sure because Genesis, got demoted after players dropped out. So now people are wondering, how does it compare to Genesis? And I think it especially sucks for like Mr. R fans, because he's had a very quiet season so far, and this would have been a great opportunity for him to really, re-cement himself as one of the game's best players. But for the most part, he's been missing in action, so missed opportunity there for him. But other than that, we did have some Canadian upsets. Let's Tickle, a Corin from Ontario, did an early upset on Anti. And then I also think a Mewtwo from New York named SDX, he went on a run. He beat Waddy, Ally, and the Cat, ended up getting 9th place. We also saw a return to form from Locus, who had a really good event. He beat Charlie, he beat Esam, he beat MVD, and then he lost to Larry in a Game 5 situation, also getting 9th. And then we ended with the intense grand finals between Leo and Nairo. That's always promising to be a great set. And then, Nairo is coming from losers and he reset the bracket. And then Leo in the second set ended up winning the whole tournament 3-1. And I think this tournament probably solidifies Leo and Nairo as numbers 1 and 2 for this season respectively. So even with the DQs in mind, I think this was a great tournament to track the results of, and there's also just a lot of great sets that you can go back and watch. So overall, I rate the GOML experience 8.5 out of 10. I think the event did almost everything right. The East Canadian scene is very lucky to have T.O. Joe as one of their TOs. He put on a really great event, and I can say from a personal level, he was very helpful. I needed housing for one of the days, and he, immediately got me taken care of. So I thought that was really great from him. And, the Canadian scene, they're just very friendly, very fun to play with. I am docking 1 point because they were using an outdated rule set where Battlefield and Dreamland were considered separate stages. And the thing about triplats is that it is an abusable layout for some characters, and it just isn't fair to not be able to defend yourself against someone like a Fox or a Zero Suit on their counter pick, where you ban one and they just take you to the other. So I don't think that has any business being in a rule set, especially for a tournament of this caliber. So that was a little unfortunate. The other half point, as I said before, I think they maybe misprioritized a couple of the stream matches, but that's really only an issue for the viewer at home. Like, if you were at the tournament, you could have easily just gone and watched Larry vs. Vitality yourself. So, it's still, everything else was an amazing experience. As I said before, you definitely could have gotten your fair share of Smash for the weekend. So I think the value is definitely there. I will happily return to Get On My Level next year if I have the means to, and I would highly recommend anyone else to go, if they, of course, are able to. It truly was a great event. And that'll do it for this tournament recap. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you after MomoCon.